Loving a chosen one will never be like loving an ordinary person. The chosen carry within themselves an expanded consciousness, rare spiritual gifts, and a perception beyond the material. Their life is governed by a higher purpose, and for that reason, their presence never goes unnoticed. But why can loving a chosen one be dangerous? Because their light doesn't just warm, it exposes. Being close to someone who sees beyond the physical world can mean having your own wounds, illusions, and masks revealed. That's frightening. That's challenging. That's confronting. The Bible gives us clear examples of this. Joseph, loved by his father, was rejected by his brothers because his anointing confronted them. Genesis 37. Jesus, the greatest chosen one, was adored by some and hated by others. His pure love was a healing force, but it also stirred anger in hardened hearts. Therefore, the love of the chosen is not for everyone. It is for those who have the courage to be stripped of illusions and purified by truth. It is a love that saves, but also burns. That's what we're going to talk about today. Make sure to follow the channel and subscribe. When someone draws near to a chosen one, something different begins to happen. Their presence is never ordinary because it carries light, and light always fulfills the same role: to illuminate. It reveals what was already visible and also what was hidden in the shadows. This process can be uncomfortable, but it is inevitable. Jesus said that nothing remains hidden forever. Sooner or later, everything comes to light. The encounter with truth always reveals. And when one loves a chosen one, that love becomes a powerful mirror. Wounds that have been buried for years begin to surface. Masks fall, revealing who the person truly is. This doesn't happen because the chosen one decides to expose someone. It's not a desire to condemn or humiliate. The revelation comes because the light they carry cannot coexist with disguises. Their life, their gaze, and their energy are too strong. They reveal what many try to hide even from themselves. Those who love a chosen one quickly realize there's no way to pretend. Half-truths become unbearable. Excuses lose their power. Living with someone like this creates a field of transparency that, at first, can be frightening. But at the same time, it opens the way to healing that wouldn't come in any other way. Some people run from this confrontation. They can't bear to see their own wounds revealed. They fear judgment, when in truth, they don't understand that exposure is part of the liberation process. The love of a chosen one doesn't wound to condemn. It wounds to heal. It works like spiritual surgery that cuts to remove what is making one sick. This love confronts directly. It doesn't accept illusions. It doesn't feed on appearances. Those who are loved by a chosen one are forced to look within themselves, and this experience can be painful, because it forces one to face truths that were hidden, kept in silence, and often intentionally forgotten. But it is precisely in this process that transformation takes place. When the wounds come to light, they can finally be treated. What was hidden no longer dominates. And even though it may hurt at first, this love opens the path to freedom, healing, and growth. Loving a chosen one is dangerous because it means losing your masks. It takes courage to see yourself without filters. Many can't bear it, but those who stay discover something precious. This love purifies. It prepares the heart to live on a level of authenticity that few ever know. The love of the chosen is not comfortable, but it is deeply transformative and true. Loving a chosen one is accepting to be seen completely. It is allowing yourself to be exposed, not to be shamed, but to be healed. It is daring to lose the false peace of illusions in order to find the true freedom of truth. Those who accept this path find a love that, though dangerous, is capable of saving and restoring. The chosen were not born to follow common patterns. From an early age, They already feel they don't fit into the molds society considers normal. It's not senseless rebellion, but spiritual awareness. There is a voice within them calling to a different path, higher, truer. That's why loving a chosen one means facing constant clashes with the system. These clashes aren't limited to the surrounding culture. They reach into family traditions, deeply rooted customs, and even established religious beliefs. The chosen do not conform to human rules that distort the truth. They prefer to obey God, even if that costs them social acceptance. Standing by their side means embracing that risk. In the Bible, Daniel is a clear example. Taken to Babylon, surrounded by pressure and imposition, he never bowed. He refused to defile himself with the king's food, maintained his faith in the face of threats, and ended up in the lion's den. Those who chose to walk with him also faced persecution, because supporting a chosen one always brings consequences. Loving a chosen one means accepting a life outside the comfort zone. There's no room for neutrality, because their life provokes decisions. They don't allow anyone to stay on autopilot. Their presence generates confrontation, because their love challenges standards that may seem acceptable to everyone else, but are no longer enough for those who see beyond. This love is dangerous because it breaks with the ordinary. It may cause you to lose friends who don't understand your new stance. It may cost you social status, recognition, or even security. Loving a chosen one means choosing to please God instead of pleasing the crowd. It's living against the current in a world that values appearances. But along with this danger, there is liberating beauty. The love of a chosen one never accommodates, never lets you stay in the same place. It pulls you out of sameness, shakes you when you try to hide, and pushes you to grow. It's not a love that strokes the ego. It's a love that awakens authenticity. This relationship becomes a turning point. It separates those who are willing to live with courage from those who prefer the comfort of illusion. Loving a chosen one requires boldness because they will pull you out of superficiality. They will challenge you to re-examine your choices, question your beliefs, and rebuild your foundations. For many, this seems unbearable. Some run away because they can't stand losing society's approval. Others retreat because they can't live without their masks. But those who stay discover something rare: the chance to live a life of purpose. Loving a chosen one opens doors to a truth that transforms completely. This love is active, never passive. It refuses to be shaped by what is easy or convenient. It discomforts, confronts, and provokes radical change. The love of a chosen one doesn't leave anyone the same. It shatters illusions, pulls out the roots of lies, and replaces them with genuine growth. And even though it's dangerous, it's also liberating. Because in the end, what seemed like loss turns out to be gain. What seemed like risk turns out to be protection. Loving a chosen one is like walking through fire. There's heat, there's fear, but on the other side, there is renewed life. It's a love that transforms you from the inside out. That's why few have the courage to remain by the side of a chosen one. But those who accept the journey discover that it's worth it. They find rare authenticity, experience true freedom, and access a depth that the world cannot offer. This love is demanding, but it is also the most rewarding. Loving a chosen one is accepting that your life will never be the same. It's letting go of the ordinary to live the extraordinary. It's facing rejection, criticism, and even persecution, but also experiencing growth, truth, and purpose. This love challenges the status quo because it's not satisfied with appearances. It seeks transformation. Here is one of the hardest truths to accept. The love of the chosen is not for everyone. It doesn't fit into just any heart. It doesn't flourish in just any soil. It is a love so intense and true that it can only be lived by those who have spiritual maturity, emotional courage, and a willingness to grow. Jesus himself showed us this. He loved everyone, but he didn't walk with everyone. There was the crowd who followed him for the miracles. There were the 70 who received specific missions. There were the 12 who walked more closely. And among the 12, only 3 witnessed the Mount of Transfiguration. Each level required greater surrender. This teaches us that not everyone is capable of handling the deep love of the chosen. Many may draw near, but few remain. Some are enchanted by the light, but cannot withstand the confrontation. Others admire the strength, but can't carry the weight of the responsibility that comes with this kind of love. The love of the chosen functions as a natural filter. It separates the curious from the courageous, the superficial from the authentic. Those who only want to receive from those who are willing to give, not because they choose to exclude, but because their energy and truth automatically eliminate what is not compatible. Loving a chosen one requires the courage to deal with intensity. There is no room for half words, shallow feelings, or lukewarm relationships. This love demands absolute sincerity because they do not know how to live in illusion. Those who try to keep up appearances beside them are quickly unmasked, not by harsh words, but by the light they carry. Many find it dangerous to love a chosen one because it means being constantly challenged. There is no stagnation beside them. Their love pushes you forward, forces you to grow, demands that you abandon old practices that no longer serve. For those who don't want change, this process is unbearable. But for those who accept it, it is a rare privilege. This love does not tolerate superficiality. It calls for commitment, truth, surrender. That's why it's not for everyone. It's only for those who decide to live with authenticity, who have the courage to strip away their reservations, who desire to experience fullness. For these, the love of a chosen one is transformative, a gift that changes one's entire life. But for those who only seek comfort, it becomes unsettling, because it doesn't only bring affection, it brings confrontation. It doesn't only bring warmth, it brings purification. It doesn't only offer sweetness, it also brings the responsibility to grow. And it is precisely this that separates those who stay from those who run. Loving a chosen one is a privilege that cannot be taken lightly. It is not something to be lived carelessly, because it touches spiritual dimensions and shapes destinies. It is like carrying a rare flame. It illuminates, it warms, and it purifies. But it can also burn if handled without care. Those who remain in this love discover treasures found nowhere else. They discover the depth of a bond built on truth. They learn the strength of walking side by side with someone who lives for purpose. And they find their own transformation in the process. This love molds not only the relationship, but the very essence of the one who receives it. That is why not everyone can endure it, because it demands more than beautiful words, more than superficial gestures. It calls for full surrender, loyalty, and courage. Only a few have the maturity to reciprocate. Only a few can handle the intensity without turning away. The love of the chosen is selective because it is true. Those who remain find that it's worth it. They find that this love is the purest reflection of God's love, a love that comforts and confronts, that embraces and transforms, that asks for everything, but gives back everything. It is not for everyone, but for the few who accept the risk, it becomes the greatest blessing in life. Loving a chosen one is to enter a journey with no return. It is to walk toward truth, even when it hurts. It is to leave illusions behind and live in fullness. It is to take a risk in a love that demands everything, but also offers the greatest reward, to be shaped by the very reflection of divine love. Ordinary relationships can survive with superficial concessions, small gestures of affection, moments of companionship, and a balanced coexistence can sustain stable bonds for years. Many people are content with this dynamic, where no one gives themselves entirely, and where fragilities remain hidden. But with the chosen, it is completely different. The love of a chosen one knows no superficiality. It is radical, whole, without reservations. It doesn't know how to live in halves. It cannot offer just a part of itself, because their heart has been trained for fullness. They love as they breathe, completely. That's why loving a chosen one demands total surrender, without masks or defenses. Jesus made this clear when he said, "If anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me." Matthew 16:24. This word does not apply only to spiritual discipleship, but also to relationships with the chosen. There is no room for indecision. Their love asks for full reciprocity, because they were not made to live in the middle ground. The reason is simple. The chosen were prepared to live in fullness. They cannot stand lukewarm relationships based on convenience or appearances. They cannot give themselves partially, because their love is like an overflowing river, like a consuming fire. To be beside them is to dive into that flow, to learn to love with intensity and truth. This level of surrender can be frightening. Many believe they can love partially, keeping secrets or wearing masks. But the chosen quickly perceive when they are not receiving the truth. They easily discern falsehood because their heart has been trained to see beyond words. Loving a chosen one is risking being whole, with all vulnerabilities exposed. This love demands courage to strip away reservations. It asks for vulnerability, sincerity, and a willingness to be purified. It is like entering a fire that warms but also burns. The flame of a chosen one's love comforts and consoles, but it also confronts. It warms the heart with tenderness, but burns away everything that does not align with authenticity. Not everyone is ready for such surrender. Many run away because they cannot handle the intensity. They call this love dangerous because it requires letting go of control, trusting without reservation, and abandoning old habits. But those who accept it discover that the love of a chosen one is a school of transformation that molds, heals, and strengthens. Loving a chosen one is walking without masks. It is learning to surrender body, soul, and spirit. It is letting go of defenses and experiencing fullness. For those who do not desire change, it may seem too heavy. But for those who seek growth, it is liberating, because this love leaves no one the same. It transforms everything around it. This love reveals wounds, but it also brings healing. It exposes vulnerabilities, but it offers embrace. It unmasks, but it gives truth in return. And every person who accepts this process discovers a version of themselves they would never have found alone. The love of the chosen always leads to evolution. When someone draws near to a chosen one, they must be prepared for a silent confrontation. It is not a confrontation made of accusations or harsh words, but of presence itself. The light they carry works like a mirror. And in front of that reflection, every hidden wound, every dormant pain begins to appear with clarity. This doesn't happen because the chosen one wants to expose or humiliate. They don't need to point anything out. Simply being in their presence already provokes internal revelations. The heart of the one nearby begins to realize that it is no longer possible to live with masks. What was once hidden behind justifications now becomes impossible to deny. Peter experienced this when Jesus looked at him after the denial. The gospel recounts that a single look was enough to break Peter. He wept bitterly, not because Jesus condemned him, but because the presence of Christ revealed the truth within him. The confrontation didn't destroy, it opened the path to transformation. In the same way, the love of the chosen operates. It doesn't ignore wounds, it doesn't pretend they don't exist. On the contrary, it reveals each one of them so they can be healed. This may be painful at first, because no one enjoys being confronted with their own flaws. But that pain is not punishment. It's part of the healing process. Those who can't bear that reflection run. Many walk away because they can't handle the intensity of truly seeing themselves. It's easier to maintain illusions, live in half-truths, believe that everything is fine. But those who love a chosen one don't have that luxury. Their love rips off veils, exposes wounds, and shows what needs to be transformed. This process is dangerous for those who don't want to change. But it is liberating for those who accept the challenge. Because only when we see our own wounds can we treat them. The love of the chosen reveals in order to heal. What seems like confrontation is, in truth, an invitation to stop living in disguise and finally experience authenticity. Being in front of a chosen one is like looking into a spiritual mirror. You see yourself without filters, without masks, without excuses. Every fragility, every fear, every poorly healed scar rises to the surface. Not to shame you, but to remind you that the time for restoration has come. Loving a chosen one is stepping into a territory where human logic no longer explains everything. It is diving into an intensity that defies comparison. Ordinary relationships function within predictable limits: affection, companionship, care. But when we speak of the love of a chosen one, we're talking about something that is born in the spirit, not just in the heart. This love is not just a feeling, it is a mission. Whoever approaches a chosen one must understand that they are also approaching a responsibility. Because to love someone who carries light inevitably means dealing with the shadows that this light reveals. Their presence doesn't just warm, it illuminates places many would rather keep closed. What hasn't yet been said is that loving a chosen one doesn't only transform the one being loved, it also transforms the chosen one themselves. This relationship is a two-way street. While one person is transformed by the light they receive, the chosen one also learns to love with patience, to teach without imposing, and to bear burdens that are not their own. This kind of love then becomes a field of spiritual learning for both. One learns to be authentic, to shed masks, and to grow in truth. The other learns not to carry everything alone, to trust that love can also be light, even in the midst of battles. It is a rare but precious exchange. Another important point is that loving a chosen one requires emotional preparedness. It's not always easy to deal with the intensity of revelations, with the clarity they bring, and with how they confront lies simply by existing. For someone used to superficiality, this might feel suffocating, but for those who are willing, it becomes liberating. This love also brings forth a prophetic dimension, because chosen ones don't love only for the present. Their love points toward the future, to what has yet to happen. They see seeds in you that you may not even realize you possess. They believe in your essence before you even understand who you truly are. That's why the love of a chosen one is not ordinary. They don't just see who you are now. They see who you can become. That's one of the reasons many people run away. Because it's hard to be with someone who doesn't buy your excuses, but who looks at you and sees potential, destiny, and purpose. But there's another aspect. Loving a chosen one may mean going through seasons of silence. Many times they retreat into periods of solitude, spiritual seeking, and alignment with God. For the one who loves them, this can be painful, because it feels like distance. But in truth, it is part of the process. Those who stay through these seasons learn about faithfulness and trust. And that learning is no small thing. It shapes patience, strengthens faith, and builds a true covenant. Because loving a chosen one is not just about walking together in days of light. It's about standing firm in the shadows, knowing that even their silence carries purpose. Another rarely spoken detail is that this love may bring external misunderstanding. People around you might not understand why you choose to walk with someone who challenges norms, who draws criticism, who doesn't fit into conventions. Many will judge, others will walk away. Loving a chosen one also means learning to deal with glances and comments. But it is precisely at this point that the greater beauty arises. The bond grows stronger, not because everyone approves, but because both people know they are living something real. And when truth sustains a relationship, nothing can tear it down. Not criticism, not distance, not persecution. Loving a chosen one is also a rare opportunity to experience the reflection of God's love. Because if human love already heals and transforms, imagine a love born of the Spirit, guided by light, purified by purpose. It is not perfect in human terms, but it is true in divine terms. And now I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced something like this? Have you felt that loving someone transformed you more than you expected? Have you ever lived through the impact of walking alongside someone who doesn't accept illusions, but calls you into truth? Leave your comment. Your experience may inspire and strengthen others who are living or about to live this same journey.